What is up, Doom Patrollers? Welcome to a bit of a bonus Doom Patrol video this week, and that is because I'm bringing you a bit of a discussion, interview if you will, with one of the writers of Doom Patrol, Shoshana Sachi, and you may have seen quite a bit of her work on the show because she's co-written quite a lot of episodes, to name a few, such as Paw Patrol, or for example the Season 2 premiere, which she co-wrote with the showrunner Jeremy Carver, Fun Size Patrol, and most recently, of course, the last week's episode, Dada Patrol, which was a very, very trippy episode, so I'm glad that I got to really pick her brain about it. So we talk about the Sisterhood of Dada and Shelley Byron and all the characters that we met in that episode. We talk a bit about Kate Chalice and her getting a bit older. What could that mean for Jane and the other personalities in the underground? And we got teased with quite a bit of that in episode 5. Also just other questions such as her experience of being a writer, working on Doom Patrol, and what's that like, and how they get their ideas together and stuff. So I'm going to stop wasting time. I hope you guys enjoyed this little bonus interview. It's more of like a chill podcast format, if you know what I mean. So sit back, relax, get your favorite beverage, a coffee. That's definitely what I'm doing. And hey, follow her on Twitter as well. I'll leave her Twitter handle in the description of the video, or maybe it's appearing somewhere on screen right now. And if you enjoy videos just like this and you want to see me interview more writers or potentially actors, we'll have to wait and see. Let me know down in the comments below because I really do appreciate your feedback. But yeah, other than that, I think that's everything. So I just hope you guys going to enjoy this little discussion I had with Shoshana Sachi about Doom Patrol, and episode 5 in particular, Dada Patrol. Before we dive into any of these Doom Patrol questions, I just wanted to say congratulations on Season 3 in general, but episode 1, of course, which you co-wrote, and of course the most recent episode, Dada Patrol. But my burning question is, since it's been so long since Doom Patrol was aired, what does it feel like, having Season 3 out, since Season 1 and 2, I think, didn't they drop a lot earlier in February or something, but now we have to wait till September for Season 3?
I mean, there was obviously editing and stuff and effects take a long time, so I don't think it really felt to us like we were sitting on the material for a long time. I mean, with episode 1 of Season 3, we obviously had to use some of the stuff that we unfortunately couldn't show everyone as the kind of season finale for Season 2. Yeah. So we had to kind of find a way to use what we had and then use it to and rewrite some stuff, write some new stuff to platform Season 3 as well. So that was the stuff that we were kind of waiting for people to see.
I was just thinking, I bet you guys were just itching to get it out, considering the finale was cut short last year, wasn't it? And wasn't there 2 days left, which just that's ridiculous,
Absolutely. It's heartbreaking, but I think it ended up well. I think Season 2 ends on a really great cliffhanger, and I know it annoyed some people, but I think that's fun. It's kind of keeping you excited to see the next season. So
no, I was personally very cool with it. I mean, I understood anyway, but when we had Timothy Dalton just scream, "No, Dorothy," I was just like, what is going to happen next? But that brings me to my next question. I know when it came to solo written episodes for Season 1 and 2, you used to be able to oversee your episode on set, but you weren't able to do that this year, I'm guessing because of pandemic related things.
So that was a bummer. But we had one writer, Eric Deedle, go to set.
Right.
He was there from, I think, episode 5, actually. Yeah, so onwards. So he was kind of our volunteer to go and be there for the full time and be our eyes on set. But it sucks because we want to be there to be able to creatively continue to work on our material and make sure that our vision is comes through. But it worked out, so.
And I was just wondering, was there any other changes and challenges that you came across as a writer and just adjusting to the pandemic and navigating around what that means for a new season of the show? Or was it more or less a similar process?
It wasn't. For me as a writer personally, we all, we had to work from home. So that was a little harder, working on Zoom for 6 hours a day is not super great.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, you know, like conversations don't kind of have the same flow as they would in person. In terms of like production, I mean, we had to just be aware of, for instance, we couldn't have crowds, big crowd scenes on set.
Okay.
We had to be careful about like, we didn't like fully obviously remove any like physical intimacy scenes, but we were kind of mindful of how often we did them.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. With obviously you had to like cater to certain things regarding the pandemic with big crowds, because I'm guessing there were so many regulations when it came to stuff like that.
I just didn't want to like do anything that would slow down production, you know,
Mm.
because they're already working in a really kind of stressful situation
Yeah.
where, you know, there's extra steps now and there's extra red tape, you know, to production. So everything's moving a lot slower. Everyone's more tense. So
Mm.
as writers, we want to make sure that we gave them material that wasn't going to add to that burden.
Okay, okay. And I imagine it's just in general, I'm sure you've been asked this 1,000 times before, but just crazy fun writing for a show like this, with just the bizarre and wonderful absurdity that comes with the characters and, you know, what we encounter episode to episode. So what would you say your favorite, I'm sure you have many, but what is your number one favorite aspect about working on Doom Patrol?
Favorite aspect. I mean, the thing that I always tell people is that it's really cool to work on a show where you can be really, really silly and come up with really absurd shit, but then
Yeah.
also have really kind of deep, meaningful relationships and talk about things that are hard, like trauma and mental illness and stuff like that. So it's cool to be able to do both and to see how it influences, affects the audience, and uh, but one of my favorite parts has to be being on set. So I really miss that
Mm.
this season because everyone's just so cool on set, and I definitely miss them. It's so cool to see your words come to life and to
Mm.
see other people get really, really excited about the material and add their own ideas in. Um, and obviously working with the actors. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say, do you have much? Is there much fluidity when it comes to working with an actor on your episode? Like, do they change things there and then and ask you about that, or do you come up with your own things there and then as well?
Uh, yeah, they ask questions, or sometimes if it's been a couple takes or during rehearsal, I feel like it's not quite kind of communicating what I was hoping to communicate on the page. Then we'll
Okay.
have a discussion about it. Someone that I had like a lot of discussions with was Timothy Dalton, and I just like he's so cool. We're BFFs now, but and he was very, very collaborative. He wanted to make sure that that he kind of portrayed it to the character Niles to the best of what we all wanted,
Hmm.
and we always work through like all the lines together to make sure that it sounded as authentic to him as possible. So that was a really fun
Yeah,
part of the
no, I
process.
love Timothy Dalton. I mean, I'm so glad that he was cast on the show. He felt like he embodied the role a lot more than the kind of backdoor pilot than what we got for Titan season one.
Yeah, he's
And
really thoughtful, and all our actors are, and he really kind of sits with the material down to like every word. He wants to make sure that it is in service of the story that we're trying to tell. So if I don't get it right on the page, we have a discussion and he
mm.
has ideas. So yeah, it's cool.
And just picking up off that, I guess, since, well, the last time we saw Niles in season two was when Dorothy was snatched. And I don't know how much you can get into this, but were there any course corrections when it came to that resolution of the Candlemaker in episode one? Or was it kind of more of a cannibalized version of ideas from last season's finale, mixed in with setting up season three's? Because that must have been quite a job to set up, well, to resolve season two, and then season three. I guess, was that why it had a few writers on episode one? I don't know how that really works actually.
We were all three of us were Eric Diedel, Tamara Becca Wilkinson, and myself were already writing the finale of season 2. So we just kind of kept working on it for when it became the premiere of season 3. And I don't, yeah, we essentially finished the story of Dorothy as we had kind of already had, you know, as the kind of ending, the conclusion for season 2. And then we just kind of made sure that the episode itself platformed season 3. So we, you know, it was definitely, we already knew kind of how Dorothy and the Candlemaker were going to come together.
This might be too hard to choose, this next question, because honestly, I think I've said it for the first couple of seasons. I've flipped a lot, and it used to be Jane and Cliff with who my favorite is. But who would you say your favorite Doom Patrol character is to write if you had to pick it? Because for me, as I said, it was Jane and Cliff as a favorite character of mine. But the more we got to know Larry and Rita, they just melt my heart as a dynamic.
So you like the dynamics, like you like two of them.
I think it's those character moments. For me, why I love this show so freaking much is just because of the balance of comedy and then those sentimental moments that we can all relate to. It's just it's a crazy cocktail. But is it too hard for you to choose like a favorite character to write out of all those members, or would you be able to?
It is actually, because if I have, like, for instance, like a Vic heavy episode, I'll be like, well, this is my favorite character, right? And Siobhan's so great to work with. And then I'll write like a Jane heavy episode, and I'll be like, well, she's my favorite. So it vacillates. And I think when I first approached working on Doom Patrol, I was drawn to Jane and her story, and I felt like I had similar kind of experiences, and I felt like I could understand the characters. So she is definitely the reason why I wanted to work on Doom Patrol.
I think it's a testament that, you know, the fact that I think we all struggle choosing our favorite characters shows how amazing all of them are. So when it comes to episode 5, which, you know, Dada Patrol, and introducing the Sisterhood of Dada, what was the reason for turning the name of the Brotherhood of Dada into the Sisterhood? Because I believe most of the characters are the same in the source material, with the exception of Byron Shelley's gender. I mean, was it more of a why not do that, or does it speak to something larger, or is that too spoilery to get into? Or
it's not Byron Shelley; it's Shelley Byron now.
Shelley Byron. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been switched around.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was a pitch by one of the writers, because just thinking about the gender makeup of the new group, the new sisterhood, and thinking about how Madame Rouge is involved now, and it just seemed like there was mostly kind of female characters at the helm. So it felt like we should kind of pay homage to that and call it a sisterhood. I mean, the female characters do kind of outweigh the male characters. You've
just got Lloyd, right?
Yeah, and then you'll meet Malcolm next episode.
Sweet. I didn't know if we were going to get some of the other members or not. You know, because I suppose that kind of leads me into my next question with, you know, the source material being Mr. Nobody, I believe, went round and located each member and stuff. So I suppose this iteration might not pertain to Mr. Nobody, or since it might be treading new ground, or is Mr. Nobody, I think where we had an update on him last time in Doom Patrol, he was doing some voiceover for Joker on Harley Quinn, getting pretty meta there. So I have no idea if he has anything to do with this, and they got all trapped in the ant farm. But then you could argue back in season 1, why didn't he free them from the ant farm in that episode with Cyborg? I don't know.
Story, it's he doesn't really have anything to do with the sisterhood, and you learn more about the sisterhood, I promise, in the next couple episodes.
Yeah, I can't wait. I was really taken back by, because I was really hyped for the Brotherhood, but you know, I was looking forward to the Sisterhood of Dada, but I didn't expect to be as engrossed as I was. So I can't wait to find out more of them next week. So yeah, I found those scenes between Shelley Byron's The Fog and Jane, and the scenes between Cyborg and Frenzy the most captivating. But who for you personally is the most interesting Sisterhood of Dada member to write, and why? And I suppose you can't get into it too far because that might give away some of the future episodes we have with some of those characters, but anything you could give us about that would be great.
Just thinking about episode 5,
Okay.
I think, yeah, the Shelley and Jane scenes and the Lloyd and Vic scenes were definitely my favorite to write. Each were kind of difficult in their own way, and I felt like, for instance, with Jane and Shelley, I worked really hard to kind of find a way for them to find a connection that felt kind of really organic and natural, and sexy, without it kind of feeling like, because they're both kind of characters who have gone through a lot. Jane's very standoffish, so it took a lot of drafts to kind of find a way to kind of inch them closer to each other. And then with the Frenzy and Cyborg stuff, it definitely took a lot of thinking and meditation, a lot of help from the room, in order to kind of craft this character of Frenzy and kind of what he has experienced, what he is charged about, and also how he would feel seeing kind of Vic not quite being in touch with the human side of his
The approximate man.
Yeah.
I really love that. Yeah, it feels, I think I said in my video, Vic out of everyone seems to be, I suppose, other than Madame Rouge, I suppose, at the peak of his identity crisis. He's the one who seems to be knee deep in it more than, I feel like I see him struggling most of it, and that's why I really enjoyed that scene, because I feel like he knew that answer. He's like, why am I, you know, I'm Cyborg to serve and protect and whatnot, but then it was, you know, it flew over his head a little bit, didn't it? And it took me back to that quote that we had Cliff say about, you know, it's got nothing to do with who you are, and when they were at that resort or whatever, and that was quite profound as well.
Yeah, I think deep down Vic is aware of all these questions, and I'm sure even when he said I'm blah 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 to serve and protect, you know, I'm sure it felt strange to him to have to kind of parrot this thing that he's been saying for a long time. So yeah, now he's at a real crossroads because he's really been pushed by Frenzy to really think about it, and there's no kind of hiding now.
Yeah, especially after what he learned in the the purgatory or whatever, the afterlife that he was in with his mother. That I feel like, I mean, that's one thing I keep seeing in my comments, that people keep bigging up and loving the character development, not only for Javan Wade's Cyborg, but Silas as well. They really like where that's going. So do you feel like from where we are at in the point of episode 5 with the personalities from the underground, that they are really just trying to take extra steps to protect Kay, or are they really just afraid of becoming irrelevant to Kay as she heals more mentally? Like, just from the perspective of where we're at in episode 5. Or could that give too much away? I'm worried about that.
I can just speak to episode 5, and that's right now what I think is happening is they are being overprotective because they are starting to be a little bit confused about what's going on with Kay. She's outgrowing her shoes. She's growing up a little bit. That's never really happened. So they want to, you know, they're kind of like white blood cells in a way. They just want to keep everything the same because they think that's going to keep her safe. And it's causing a lot of confusion in the underground.
Yeah, because I like how we saw both perspectives, because I didn't want to read too much into either direction, because I don't believe that the personalities would deliberately want to not help Kay out. But at the same time, you could read into it with how overprotective, you know, when Hammerhead and we had the couple of others at the end just kind of go forward and step in front of the door, and Jane is just like, what are you doing? I was just like, damn, like, where are we going? Down that road or down this road? And I like how Kay, you know, because the actor is growing up as well, and normally in other TV shows, they might recast. But this is perfect for the story because she's getting better and she's growing older. And I think that's such an interesting... I didn't think, and I always repeat this, I always think, what do they have next? But I never ever thought like, oh wow, of course we have Kay growing up, and what does that do to Jane and all the other personalities? So I'm honestly a huge fan of that direction.
This actress, and the first time I saw her was on episode 5 of season 1, and she was just that little girl holding the brain
Yeah.
in the cathedral. And yeah, she's grown and matured so much, and she's really coming into her own as an actress. And in terms of like the personas standing in front of Kay's door, I think you have to remember that they saw Jane being quite complacent in kind of a situation where they think this is a villain, this is a bad guy, and you're just hanging out and you're letting Kay eat candy in this space. Like, so they're a little bit freaked out.
Yeah, I didn't think about it in that perspective, actually, because that's what I was kind of asking you. I was just like, so why is Jane being somewhat seduced in this situation? But I also like how Kay liked Shelley as well. She seemed to be quite open, and I suppose that could like reflect that fondness of the other character on both characters, Jane and Kay. Because when Hammerhead came in, she was just like, "Come on, monkey," and then she was like, "No, I want to stay eating candy in the background."
Yeah, but it's the fog is proposing things like, well, start kind of thinking outside the underground. Start thinking about the things that you want to do, and Kay already started,
looking
questioning
through
things.
the Looking Glass a couple of episodes back.
Yeah, and she's already kind of like, I want to go up, and that's a huge, desire for her. That is a change from what she usually wants to do, which is just kind of sit in the room. So yeah, and she's being kind of provoked, but also encouraged by this person in Shelley Byron to go do the things that she wants to do that other people don't think are right for her. So of course she wants to stay and eat candy.
and do you think that emulates through Jane? I mean, obviously Jane is Kay, but do you think they're separate at the same time? But do you think through Kay being interested in that also makes Jane more susceptible to accommodate Kay's desires as well?
Possible. I mean, I can't really kind of speak to it. I think it's just such a layered discussion about DID, and but I think what Jane's experiencing here is kind of, she's also starting to think outside the underground, and Shelley Byron is this kind of, she never thought that she might have feelings for sexual or romantic for anyone. So this is kind of like a new desire that's kind of appearing for her. Yeah.
Okay. And I've been dying for this one, and this is, I added on to it. A few subscribers were asking this, was Cliff's hallucinating a part of the Sisterhood's power or not? But what was your inspiration behind Cliff's hallucinations when he was high? Something about Margaret Thatcher's bum. But then I saw, when I was looking at those questions, a lot of people were wondering, wait, was that to do with the fog, like the psychedelic fog potentially? I mean, I know Cliff was literally high, but I don't know what the shape was. Or was that to speak larger to the Dada art movement as well?
Being is very much kind of steeped in Dadaism, so he wasn't really hallucinating. It was kind of all Dada stuff that was happening in there, and so the bicycle was kind of speaking Dada poetry, which is basically you just throw a bunch of words in a hat and you just pick out words. And the shape in the sky was based on a famous Dada piece of art called Mustache Hat. So it's all kind of references to the Dada movement, and also like the Bureau of Normalcy agents were all kind of in the fog for so long that they started to become a little bit Dada, so they were kind of speaking in that Dada poetry.
Okay, that's really cool insight, because I didn't know if those Bureau agents were real or not, but it would make sense that Shelley would have absorbed some of them when she escaped, so that's actually really cool to know. What is your favorite moment from episode 5, your episode, and what would you hope is the one thing that fans would take away from Dada Patrol, if anything?
That's a big question. I think the biggest thing that fans would take away from Dada Patrol is the fact that
Yeah. I mean, it could
Um,
just be the surface level fun of it all, or is there something a little bit deeper there?
um, I don't know if I mean, I don't know if I want people to take anything in particular, but I would like, and I was very interested to see if people enjoy kind of the Shelley and Jane dynamic,
Yeah.
because I was really excited to see Jane, you know, show a different dimension to a character and to kind of explore romance and sexuality. And I was really hoping that people were intrigued, interested in kind of the frenzy Vic
Mm,
dynamic and
mm.
the conversation they were having. Because a lot of it was kind of fueled by stuff that's kind of going on in terms of kind of, the social political state of the states right now. So
Yeah, I loved. Well, I loved your post on Twitter not too long ago about how you should chase your dreams with you standing outside one of those awesome, huge billboards. And you mentioned how, and it is crazy to me. I'm not mega familiar with, I know a bit about the industry, but specifically writing. You say it was just 5 years ago. From where you went from a temp PA to now a writer and producer of this show. So, and this is yet again, um, a lot of subscribers asked this question that I already had for you. So, what's that experience been like to go from that in the past 5 years? And do you have any advice for aspiring writers out there? Because, as I said, there's a few who really looked up to you and the episodes you've done, and they were like, "Does she have any advice for me and stuff?" So,
Ah, that's a hard question. I mean, I can only speak to my experience, and it's so different across the
hmm,
board for everyone in the industry. Like even like me and my husband, who works on Riverdale, he's had a completely different experience.
okay,
But for me, yeah, I was a PA. I was filling in for another PA on Shannara Chronicles for 3 months, and I worked down kind of Sunset Boulevard, very near to that picture where I took.
yeah,
And I mean, I'm an immigrant, so I'm not American. I'm from New Zealand, and so um, I had the kind of uh, the task of, or like the challenge of, because being an immigrant, in my capacity and my visa, I had to make sure that I was always working in the industry. So I couldn't get a job as a waitress. I couldn't get a
okay,
job doing anything else. I had to make sure that if I wanted to stay in the country, I had to work in the industry. I had to work something, especially with the finer point of, I had to be in some capacity working alongside writing.
okay,
So it was very specific. So that kind of made me have to pound the pavement and have to kind of really, really work really hard to try and get these entryways into
mm,
where I am now. And also, I was very lucky. I went to UCLA to do a master's in screenwriting, and in my second year, I got to know my manager, who has just been incredible, Charlie Oswick.
okay,
And he got me a couple of meetings like 4 years ago. Yeah. My first meeting was with meeting on Wayward Sisters that unfortunately didn't go, but Bob Behrens and Andrew Dabb had obviously worked with Jeremy Carver in the past.
yeah,
So Jeremy Carver read my sample. He had heard about me, and I got on Doom Patrol. So I feel
mm,
like, I'm very lucky. And it was only a year out of graduating from a master's in screenwriting. A lot of people have to wait longer or a shorter time, like Stephen
mm,
Cannell's, who I went to UCLA with. He created Pose. So,
okay,
yeah, people's stories are so different. Um, my advice would be, if this is really what you want, to make sure that everything you're doing is in service of this goal that you have. Uh, and also, I've been told a lot, and a lot of different people who are very successful have been told throughout my journey that I'm not talented, I'm not a good writer, blah, blah, blah. This
wow.
person will never make it. But if you believe in yourself and find that support system of people who believe in you as well, and just go for it,
That's crazy. I mean, hearing that. Like, I mean, I know it is a thing a lot of people experience, but not to blow smoke or anything. It's just like you've been told that your writing is bad or whatever, and that's just crazy for me to fathom, you know. But it's I only say that as well in the sense that if you get told that, then I'm sure it gives hope that if other people could be, you know, grow that thicker skin and just keep grinding, you know.
I mean, yeah, I've been told by like when I was doing film studies back in New Zealand that, you know, like one of my professors told another student that he thought I was the least talented person that he'd ever met. So, but then I just used that as kind of fuel to be like, well, I'm going to show him. So
that's fantastic, because I mean, plenty of people I'm sure would have knocked their confidence a bit. Maybe they wouldn't have thought. That's crazy. I mean, I know there's a lot of rejection out there, and you know.
There's industry. a lot. There's a lot, and you know, it's a balance of kind of like believing in yourself and having the confidence, but also being open to taking notes and criticism, but never kind of letting it knock you down.
Now we've got a couple of subscriber questions. The last one's a bit random, and I added to it, and I have no idea if you can even answer it. But don't worry too much about it. It's more of a Dada question. So this one's first from Reen Valdez, saying, the portal in the ice cream truck, was that a deliberate homage to the Japanese horror film House? If so, I absolutely loved it.
But now,
sorry, say that again. You cut out a bit.
Oh, no, it was not. But okay. But I'm intrigued now. I want to watch House.
Yeah, I googled it.
Yeah, it was actually an homage to Optophone 1, which is a, I think, Francis Picaba piece of Dada work.
Okay.
But yeah.
And Calvin Patel says, can you ask, how is the writing process for a show that has so many different elements? How do they know how much to pull from the source material?
I mean, we all kind of throw all the things that we found interesting about the source materials and all the different runs of Doom Patrol into a pot, basically, okay. and try and see kind of like how the character arcs match up with these different kind of characters or situations or settings from the source material. And in terms of adapting the source material, we definitely take like all our guidance from Jeremy, who has, you know, a very specific kind of tone in mind for the show.
Okay.
The writing process is like I could do a seminar and nobody wants to hear that. It's not very interesting.
I would love to be a fly on the wall of the writer's room, though, just when you're going about constructing an episode. Just because of how bizarre this show can be, you know, it feels like, you know, a little witch's cauldron that you're just adding little bits of weird, bizarre ingredients in, but it, you know, it comes out perfectly.
People with like different, you know, experiences and interests in the room, so that kind of influences that.
So Olivia Crofano says, what was the most challenging thing about bringing the Sisterhood of Dada to life in that episode?
Challenging.
Maybe it was to be so trippy. I don't know.
Well, that comes very easily to me.
Okay, fair enough.
What's the hardest part? I guess, like I mentioned with Jane and Shelley, just finding a way for them to, I guess, all the characters to kind of come together and have a conversation that was relevant to both sides was probably the hardest part. Yeah. And also making sure that I paid homage to the source material, but also kind of showcase kind of this different kind of take on them that Jeremy, you know, has set up with this, you know, his very specific tone for the show.
Yeah.
So yeah. Mm-hmm.
And with all of these things, how much would Jeremy have an input on your episode? Would he? Is it more just handing that draft to him and then he's like, okay, yep, or?
So this goes back to the writing process thing where we all pitch in the room and about like different ideas and stuff like that we have for the episode. And Jeremy's there through the whole process. So he's saying yes, no, and then he's like kind of nudging us in the right direction. But he's super, super collaborative, and that's another like great part of my experience in the industry, I know that's not everyone's experience,
Yeah.
is that he really wanted like my perspectives and my take on the characters. And so yeah, he's there throughout the process, kind of making sure that we get it, you know, as right as possible. And he's the one with all the experience. So
Yeah. And lastly, as I said, I have no idea if you're gonna be on. It just made me laugh when I saw it. But Writing Geek says, "Why are you?"
Oh man, I need to be way higher.
Yeah,
To answer
that's
that.
what I was gonna say. Like, I don't know how I would even answer this. It would be like, I am to review Doom Patrol forevermore or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it is the kind of question that would make you have an existential crisis,
Exactly.
which is what happened, you know.
Okay, I think that more or less wraps up everything. Other than, is there any other episodes that fans can keep an eye out for that maybe you're co-writing in the last 5 episodes up ahead, or?
No, you know, that doesn't mean I'm any less interested. I am so excited for everyone to see episode 6, which is like one of my favorites. Episode 2, Vacay Patrol, is definitely like another one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But 2 and 6, I think I'm like super excited about. So I mean, we get to follow Rita into the past. What's better than that?
I'm dying to see that. I really am.
Yeah, it's been really fun, like having a season where Rita has a lot of story and is kind of like taking a lot of leadership in the show. So
I was saying in my review, I think, I mean, maybe it is Dutch courage, but it's almost borderline uncharacteristic of her to take such a leap. You know, she's not. I wouldn't have put her down to be the type to potentially get lost in time forever. Normally, she'd rather be safe with Larry and Doom Manor. But no, she's got in the bloody time machine, and she's off on her way. For all she knows, she might never be able to come back. So I can't wait to see how that affects her. With her traveling back.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah, 6 and 7, and yeah.
So guys, if you've got to this part in the video and you enjoyed the little discussion I had, I'd really appreciate it if you showed that by just leaving a like. Honestly, I know so many people must ask you this of other YouTubers that you watch, but it really does help out. And maybe if you have fellow Doom Patrol fans who would appreciate some of the insight out of today's video with Shoshana Sachi and what she had to say about episode 5 and just Doom Patrol in general, maybe you could share this video on Twitter or other social medias and just in general with fellow Doom Patrol friends out there. Other than that, subscribe, because I do aim to put out more content just like this. Other interviews maybe with like other writers or actors from a whole variety of shows, and hopefully Doom Patrol again in the future. But other than that, guys, I do have links in the top pinned comment to follow me a little bit more, such as my Twitter page, Discord server, where you can talk about Doom Patrol and nerd out with me there. We have voice chat and text chat and everything good like that. But I think that's everything. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. I hope you're all looking forward to episode 6 as well, coming out this week. And I'll see you Doom Patrollers in the next video. Goodbye.